Hi there, and welcome back to the channel. So I'm pretty excited. I have had these microphones for a long time, these Cascade Fathead 2 SP ribbon microphone with the original transformers in them, not any upgraded ones. And I've had them for a long time. I think I bought it like, I don't know, 2006, 5, somewhere 4, 3, no. I moved back to Georgia in 2003 or 4, 2004. Yeah, it would have been like 2006. I bought it a while ago, and I had never, when I got the microphones, these are really cool looking microphones, like when you open up the case, you had this Blumlein bar here, and I was like, what's a Blumlein bar? I might be mispronouncing his name. He's a British chap who made quite a name for himself in making some incredible inventions, including basically, stereo recording, which he got the idea from while at the cinema with his wife. He noticed that the sound was monaural and it wasn't following the actors very well. So he came up with this cool technique called the mid-side technique. And it's a stereo recording. I think he called it multi-binaural, or he just called it binaural, meaning like two sides to the signal as opposed to a mono signal. But it's really like a stereo thing. And there's other ways to do stereo, obviously, like the XY pair, which is what I usually do on the cabinet. But I've always been intrigued by this Blumlein thing, and we've been doing these weekends where we practice and get ready for shows and work on new material, and then we'll usually like do a cool cover tune that we've been wanting to play for some reason, an old song for whatever reason, just having fun and working. And actually the covers become a really good way to work on your chops or whatever, like get better at some of the songs that are extremely challenging to play, that kind of thing. Also, I find that when you learn covers, you learn a lot about song arrangement. Even if you don't like it, you'll figure out why you don't like it. And but usually I find that most of the songs we do, all the songs that we do, the arrangements really teach me a lot, So it's really a good thing to do. And you can really push yourself that way because, it's sometimes quite difficult. All right, so I remember when I bought the microphone, I saw this bar in there. It's like this Blumlein bar thing. And it's really simple. As you can see, it attaches to where the thing that you would usually hold, your shock mount or whatever you're using to put your microphone on. Instead of doing that, you just turn the stand this way, put this little mount on here, which attaches just like a shock mount. Then the bar goes on, you attach it with this little thumb screw tightening thing. And then the idea is you want to load both mics like as close to each other as possible. So we'll call this one the mid, the top one the mid. And I don't think it matters. You could do it either way. But we're going to take the microphone here. And these, I believe, are figure 8, so it doesn't matter which way. So if it's facing this way, it records the same as if you're facing this way. It's like a dual-sided ribbon. And I believe that's correct. I could be wrong. Somebody will definitely correct me that knows more about ribbon microphones. I don't know anything about microphones, except that I like ribbons on guitars. I like the large diaphragm condensers on my vocal and on the snare drum, and I like these for overheads. They are a little softer delivery, but I don't usually use them for vocals unless it's a particular vocal where I'm just not working on any other mic. Sometimes a ribbon will work. But I wouldn't mind trying upgrading the transformers on these since I like them so much, because that wouldn't be that expensive and it would probably make them open up the top end a little bit. Alright, so this is what they call the Blumlein method for capturing stereo sound. We have the mid mic, so it's going to go upside down in the mount, like so, and this one will be going straight down, and they call it droop, I think, when it hangs down. You want to make sure it doesn't droop onto the other one, because if they touch, you'll get some energy there which will create noise, and you don't want that. So I'm going to connect, and I'm not going to use any phantom power on these. Blow them up. You can't use phantom power on a ribbon. Some people say you can, and they should do that, but I'm too scared to do it. So I'm not going to apply any phantom power, which is okay because I'm using this as like a way to record, get a room recording, like a 2-track recording. And the idea is to put it in front of a live band, sort of move it around the room, and get a really good stereo split, as opposed to just using the camera, which was what I've been using. I've been using the camera volume, or the camera recording, for the audio on the covers, and we were like, we should up the game on the covers a little bit, so that they sound good if people want them, to listen to them as like actual music, as opposed to just, watching the video and it's on your phone and the audio's okay. This way, it'll hopefully sound a little better. And it's also a great way for me to learn how to do this, because I made a recording of my guitar, of the guitar amp, just playing a few little things, to test this as a potential way to do the guitars on my next song. I'm about to start on, after this weekend, I'm going to start on my song Hell Yes, just getting it all together, because I've added another part to it that I didn't originally have. And I'm thinking I'm going to try this Blumlein method, the stereo recording method, because I usually use a matched pair here. And so instead, put the Blumlein there, and I'll explain why in a second. So next, because I really like it and there's a cool reason. All right, so this is going to be the side mic. So I'm going to put this one in facing up. And so this one, the mid, the first one I put on, that's facing, let's say it's facing the band or facing you, facing me. This one is going to face the opposite direction. It's going to go side. And this is going to pick up another field altogether. This is going to, and you'll see the little Venn diagram in the instructions. Little circle diagram. I got to get this down a little bit. And you got to kind of play with this so that you don't get the mic droop and you get them, as close as possible. And the bar really helps with that. But there's a million other ways to do it. And you can also, it's also recommended to do it where you have 2 different types of microphones, so you get a different pattern on each one. And this, I would fine tune this on my own in front of the camera. It'll probably look all screwy. But when I go and do this with the band, I'll be fine-tuning this adjustment and getting these microphones as close to each other as possible without any droop or any weirdness. This bottom one's wanting to droop. I got to reset up these shock mounts because I can feel the rubber is not positioned perfectly. Okay, so now this is a pretty good approximation of what it's going to look like. We've got the 2 microphones, and I'll move the camera in so you can get a better shot of this. But you've got the 2 microphones like so. And this is kind of drooping. Get this tighter. I need to get a better mic stand. I can tell that right now. That helps right there. Or does it make it droop more? Like we need a sandbag back here, like when you're making movies, We need to sandbag this so that this doesn't droop. But anyway, then I would move it around the room, and if I wanted to face it this way, I would turn this one. I don't think it matters which one, but just for my own thoughts, I'm going to make the top one be mid and the bottom one be side. And then just picture that like 8 inches away from a guitar cabinet. Because the beauty of it is, I'll explain it in a second, but you can bring it back to mono quite easily because you end up with 3 channels when you record like this. I'm going to go into that next. Now, when I originally bought this, I was still recording on tape. But the Zoom is great for this. It's so much easier. And if you have a computer that you connect to and use some kind of software, you're golden with this method. And so I'm really excited about it. So inside we have this little piece of paper here that kind of gives you some instructions. And I find this fascinating. All right, so the Guide to Recording in MS. And this is written by Gene Weed. And he is back in 1977. So what you want to do is, once you get it set up like this, you got the mid, you got the side. You want to, it says place your Blumlein array directly in the center of the subject that you're given to record. Extend the microphone stand as high as possible. So in my case, I would take it up. You want to be like at a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to take this up quite a bit. And I may even put it up on a stand or something to get it as high. And I'm going to get a better mic stand. I can tell you that right now. This one is just such a piece of junk. It's just not good enough for this purpose. But let's say that this is all we had. I'm going to try to get it up as high as we can. Like say I was going to record this guitar cabinet. I would want to be more like at this 45-degree angle we've got going here. And that's what I'm going to try to achieve when I record the band. You know, when they're all standing there, I'm going to try to get this thing up as high as I can. And then it says here in the center of the room that you want to set it up, and that's a good starting point. But it sounds like the sweet spot could be anywhere. So you want to be ready to move around and record, do some test recording. Okay, so extend the microphone as high as possible, get that 45-degree angle, and it kind of shows a pattern of what happens as far as the angle goes and what is covered, you know, by this mid recording. Because I picture this top one, picture like a big, you know, monophonic circle, and then this one is the additional circles that are intersecting at this angle. It's hard to explain exactly, but you can see it when it's written down. Okay, so now step 2, connect each microphone. So you're going to take one cable, connect it to track 1. So let's say the mid, we're going to put in track 1. All right? That makes it simple. Make sure I'm connected that way. And not that I'm going to do any recording right now, but I'm going to just show you what my setup was. And then here's number 2. It's all tangled up and whatnot, but that is going to go here. So we're going to hook this one up here, right there. So we got mid, track 1. I've got my high Z off, yeah, and I'm going to be ready to get levels. I've got my side in track 2, and when I was doing this, I was really pushing myself to get the gain up on the side. Not necessary. This is extra information. The signal will not be as hot, and you don't have to try to push it with gain because then you're going to add a bunch of noise. So let that signal not be as hot. It doesn't matter because we're going to double it, and you'll find out why and how. Okay, so step 2, we're connecting the microphones. Mid is in track 1, side is in track 2. All right, so we've got a 2-track recording going. You want a minimum of 55 dB of low noise gain, and the Zoom gives that to you. I think it clocks in at like 60 dB. Do not use compression, expansion, or maximizing at this time. So I don't ever use effects anyway, going in clean, but you could always put on one of your little you could test one of these mic things, but I'm going to just go in no effect like they recommend. Let's see. Now, when you record like this, you're going to take that mid mic, you're going to go into that input 1, and they're saying to set the mid mic to the left channel and pan it fully to the left. So I recorded with this track fully panned to the left, and that's easy to do in the pan EQ switch. You just make sure you're in track 1. You're going to go all the way over to the left, all the way left 100. Right now it's in center, but that's what you're going to do. Step 3, okay, and then on the mid side, you're going to push that, on the side, this one, you're going to push that hard to the right. So basically when you record, you're going to do a hard left-right. This will be left, the side will be right. Unless you reverse them, and you want to flip them the other way, then it'll just be reversed for you. Okay, that's it. You're going to decode these tracks later. Right now it's left pan hard to the left, mid pan hard, which is the top one, pan hard to the left, side, which is the second microphone, the bottom microphone in our array, panned hard to the right. Okay, next. We're going to track and record. I did that. I'm going to make sure all of my levels in the microphone chain are not clipping. It says do not ride the gains during the recording process. You want to go ahead and get it beforehand. You don't want to sit there and be doing this. You want to just get a nice level. I think that when you do that with this recording style, it affects the levels in a bad way that you would not want. Okay. Step 4, you're now ready to decode and adjust the mid-side signals to an XY or a left-right stereo image. Now, let's say we just made the recording, we're all done, we like what we hear, it was a good take, blah, blah, blah. Next step, you're going to, now I always take my tracks in and do a little cleanup work. You can do the cleanup work on them. So you have 2 tracks, right? Watch this, this is really cool. Okay. You're now ready to adjust the final stereo image. To accomplish this, you will use your computer's multi-track software to transform the 2 MS fields. Okay, so they have a diagram here that shows you how this occurs. Okay, now, channel 1 is now going to become the center. So I usually take my stuff under Audacity. I'll do a low cut on it, maybe some amplification, or I also quiet passages where I'm not singing, or if the guitar has a moment where it rests, I'll quiet that so there's just eliminates noise, because that noise builds up as you continue to track and add more tracks. But all I'm going to do now is just have that track, and I'm going to bring it back in after I clean it up, and it's going to be down the center. So now I go back to pan EQ, and I'm going to center right up. All right. So no panning on that first one now, even though it was recorded panned left. So remember that you're going to record it panned left. You're going to play it back now right down the center. Okay. After you do the cleanup work, if you want to, in Audacity, now, or whatever you use. Next up, you're going to pan channel 2 fully to the left. So the other one, the original of the original recording, the second one, the side recording, that's now going to be to the left. So to review it, our original signal that was on the left is now center. Our signal that was on the right is now shift to the center. So the way you build this matrix, the next little thing you do is you're going to take the second track, the side track, and you're going to double it in the computer. I just take it and call it, side, the other side, the third track or whatever, or side left, side right, however you divide it up. That comes into the Audacity, that comes back into the Zoom, and that's going to now live on track 3. And it's basically just a copy of this, but it's going to be panned the opposite way, if I remember correctly. Okay, yeah. You're going to pan that channel 3 fully to the right. So to review, we made a mid-side recording. The mid was the top mic, and I recorded it panned hard left. The side is going to pick up our sides, our stereo sides, to add to this mid. And that was recorded in the second track, panned hard right, and you can do that through pan EQ. Now, I then took this one, the side one, number 2, and I made a copy of it. And I brought that copy back over. And I did some cleanup work on all the tracks. But the main thing that I did for our purposes right now is I copied track 2. Input 2, that track, I made a copy of it. So now I have 2 of them. And I brought them back in. And I put that copy on number 3. And now suddenly, we're going to take what once was recorded hard right, our side. We're going to now make that one hard left through our pan EQ. And our new copy of that we did on the computer and outputted back to the Zoom, that is now going to be panned hard right. So you got a hard left, and you got 3 channels now. Number 1, which was this one, center. Number 2, which was this one, a copy of it is left, and a copy of it is right. The original recording is left, the copy of it is now right. And what's great is this isn't a tape machine, so we don't have to record a copy of it and bring it back on. The way you would bounce around and do all that kind of stuff. You're actually got an exact copy of the original recording, a left-right version. Really cool. Now, what makes this great? Let's say you got to do a mono fold down. You're going to do a 8-track or something, and you want to do a mono recording. Ryan, when he was doing his lathe cutting for our band, I had him lathe cut some singles. Those had to be mono because the lathe cut that he had was Japanese. It was for karaoke, I think, and it originally, and so it did mono recordings, mono head. Well, this method would be great for that because all you got to do is leave that original mono signal that's in center. You just drop these other 2. Boom, you got a mono signal. How cool is that? That's really thinking ahead, if you ask me. Okay, so step 6. I'll read again what they say because it's well written. Pan channel 3 fully to the right, and you got to invert it. Number 3, because what happens if you don't invert it? You made a copy of it. Okay, if you don't invert that one, you're going to have some little phase issues. So you want to make sure you invert it. I learned a lot with this process because I've never done anything quite like this, and it's really cool. Some people say it's old-fashioned and there's a new way to do it that's better, but I think this is fun and interesting because because I love the way you can fold it back to mono by just dropping the other two. But make sure you invert that third one. I didn't mention that. So post-production of your music can now be done, including any compression, limiting, expansion, normalization of standard CD levels, or now we don't use CD levels anymore, we're gone beyond it. But noise levels, yeah. But as far as resolution and bit rate and all that, we've gone up a bit. Okay, so you pan channel 3 fully to the right, we got that, and invert the phase on the channel only. You're now ready to transform the Blumlein effect by mixing channels 1 through 3 into your final XY stereo image. So that's up to you at that point. Let's say you want less of that stereo image. You can pull it down. You want more, you can push it up. You can put effects on the stereo part, not on the main vocal. It's just really cool. And if you need a mono recording, you just fold down by dropping the other two channels. So somebody, if there's a drawback to this that I'm not seeing, please let me know, and let me know if you've had good experience with that. I don't know how great it's going to work because my vocal comes through this, crappy PV thing, and I might even put a separate mic, like somewhere in the room on this, so I'd have more vocals. But I don't know yet. This might do it all. It might capture enough of the vocals sort of swirling around the room, and it would sound weird to have another one. It's kind of nice to have the control over the vocal. Just because that's what usually gets buried, and it usually sounds the worst because it's going through a 57 and coming out of this, so it doesn't usually sound super high fidelity anyway. I don't know, but I think this is a solid idea to record a band in a room if you don't want to get into miking everything, which is possible. I'll have the mics there. We could do, but just for the drums alone. And then the cabinets are really loud. Everybody's amps are loud. So I think this is the way. So I'll be interested to see if somebody has some input on it. I think it's a great choice for the Zoom. Really fun. Fun thing to do, and the Zoom takes it really well. It's like super easy to do. All right, so good luck with your projects out there. I will be back next week, and I'm getting serious. I got 2 to 3 songs to finish this whole record. And then I'm going to go back and make sure everything sounds good and put the whole thing together. I'll show you how I get everything ready, mixing, mastering, just assembling it, decide what to do with it. But mainly I see these records I do on my own as dynamite, as like demos, so I take them to my band and hopefully they'll want to work on one of them, and who knows, they'll get reprocessed or reimagined through them. But I love just having different versions of the songs no matter what, and it's really good for me to work it all up because I get the original idea together. And then it's a great way to have other people jump in and collaborate, re-record, reimagine it, if you want to. That's the whole point of it. All right, next time.